guess it's time for another lesson today. I've been practicing for a little bit, and I'll probably continue afterward. This is Chopin's Etude. I call it Etude 23. It's really number 11, Opus 25, because he composed two sets of them. At some point later on, I'm actually going to teach you all about this piece, inside and out, and the stuff involved to play it. But for now, we're still doing our basic series, so we are back with more board, and it's a new and improved board. Ta-da! Look, here we go. Now, I took a big step doing this because, like, my marker died yesterday. You might have noticed that I just kind of cut out at the end because guess what? The camera died. So as you're learning how to play piano through these, I'm also in the process of learning how to make better videos. So now I know a little bit about how long my camera lasts. And in addition, this board, since it dried out, I did some research and, didn't really have to do a lot of research, just had to think it through a bit while I was away. So I now have a permanent marker. So this is a permanent piano music thing. So from now on, like if I want to write on this for something else, I have to buy another board because this is going to belong here. But I've decided I'm probably going to use it a lot because especially, when we dig into particular pieces and start learning them, like I'm going to take this out many times to jot out some concepts. So so here we go. This is kind of it was cool doing this. Like really feel like step by step this is becoming official. So let's dive in. So my black marker, I think it just needed to sit. I'd left the cap off. So let's see how it does. I have a backup if it doesn't. So these lines we're always going to take for a given, but you can draw this out. You can actually get printed. It's called transcription pad. So you can get paper that's printed as music. So you don't have to draw these lines. I just do this because I want something that's big enough that you can see it and follow along at the piano. This is the music that I read, but you can't really see that from up there. So, so here we go. You know the drill. 5 lines in the top, 5 lines in the bottom, a vertical, and then we have this seagull that comes in here. Well, why don't we draw the seagull the right way? There's a curl. And then there's the head, and then there's a curl, right? So that's sideways seagull. That's kind of this brace that holds the staff together. That's kind of what that's meant to be. And then to ensure clarity that this is the top half of the piano, we draw this treble clef. Take these magnets off; they're always in my way. Okay. So, the curl, we started doing this spiral, goes around, and then we have this thing that's sort of sloping to the side, and then there we go. So the treble clef's the most difficult one to draw. It's taking a look at some music printing, and sometimes this thing is, so when I say it slopes kind of a little bit to the right, sometimes you'll see it written a little to the left. It actually, again, it's down to font, right? So when music printers print music, the choice of when they put the symbols in will vary from the font. But I kind of like this slightly leaning to the right because it's easier for you to adopt this. Whenever you write notes, often, it's sort of like squished to the side, sloping to the right. I'm going to test this. Oh, it does rub off a bit. Okay, well, whatever. It's better than the other marker. And then the bass clef is just this curl that kind of goes down like that, kind of like a harp, upside down. The big bow kind of usually is up on the floor, and it comes up. But just imagine an upside down harp. So there we go. Bass clef, middle C and down, treble clef, middle C and up, and all these notes. So we're going to actually keep it short today because there's not a lot to cover. There's just this one last concept I want to leave you with notation before we start moving on to nuances. So that'll be a fourth and probably final series of basics where I cover remaining things like tempo, Oh, sorry, what am I saying? There's going to be a series on rhythm, because there's a lot to cover about rhythm. It's definitely several videos. But then when I'm done with that, I'll do a few more just on some nuances about like how you play notes, things like phrasing, and various accents and things that you'll need to know, like just the basics when you're reading music. And we might talk about fingering, like they're all little things that kind of I'll add later. So really all you got to know after we've understood about how the piano's made into tonal maps and how key signatures basically lay out different runs where you have different a combination of black keys and white keys, right? And then yesterday we learned about accidentals, that you can create a key signature, right? So let's just say we did one flat. So B flat, right? That's the first one you add. So that'd be F major, right? Go down the circle of fifths once, add the B flat in there. And then just say you want to write a melody, but you actually want to play the natural B. So you just create an accidental. So let's just say this is the note, this is the B. First note, you're going to put an accidental there. You know, this marker, maybe this marker is on its last legs. I did get a second one, just in case. So let's switch over here for now. There we go. It's a bit blocky, so I will have to go out and buy a new marker. Oh boy, that looks dreadful. Okay, well, between the two, the one that's a little not that, it's a little blurry, but at least you can read it. I'm going to stick with this one here. So what we saw chords, right? The first, the third, and the fifth. We did a whole series on the chords, right? And minor chords, right? So basically, you'd have 24 different chords you can play. Well, that's getting into this idea of making a vertical stack of notes, okay? So when we read music, we're going from the left to the right, and we assume that the left to the right is the passage of time, okay? And so really, it's up to now, we haven't gotten into rhythm. I've just been sort of drawing the notes basically one after the other, and they're just a little circle that you fill in. Oh boy. No, this is actually just dying on me. So, where did I put the marker? Oh, there we go. Okay, so, yeah, like this, right? You just fill in the notes in. You're not really counting how long you spend on them. It's just that one comes. So this is A, B flat, C, and D. So that's all that tells me, is just play them in that order. It doesn't say, do you go like this? Do you go, or do you go, that's getting into rhythm, which is why we're going to spend a series on it. What matters is that you're going in order of notes. Now, so the idea of a chord or simultaneous notes, just imagine, see this vertical line here? Imagine you dragged it through, or you had a ruler that was parallel with this line, right? And you stack the notes. So, all right, so let's say this here with this C. I want to play the F at the same time. So I would just, it's kind of what you'd expect. You would put the F note, and the fact that it's one on top of the other, it tells you as you're reading this, when you hit the third note, right? Okay, so let's just say, what would we want to do here? Okay, yeah, so let's just say, yeah, I'm going to go B flat. So let's just say I want to actually play two notes at the end. So it's going to go like this. Okay, so C and the lower F, and then D, and then the B flat. Okay? One little point here, it's going to be hard to do with this bigger marker, is when you introduce an accidental, it will be assumed that that's carried forward. Now later on, we're going to see this symbol when we get to rhythm. For example, this sometimes you do draw a vertical line. That's called a bar. This means that you basically have a bar line, and a bar is a complete unit of notes, and it's assumed that when you complete a bar, the whole accidental map resets. So basically the idea is until you see a bar finish, you're going to assume if you introduce an accidental that it carries forward. So technically here, if this is meant to be B flat, I need to change or update the rule. That looks like that kind of looks like a crouching person, but it's meant to be this, right? B flat. Okay, so you would have the natural sign. And then here B flat. Now the reason this is important is because here's this last one, right? That I'm hitting the B flat again. So the fact that there's a B flat here, it cancels that natural. Okay? And then when the bar comes, if I wrote this again, if I wrote just B, right, it would be assumed to just basically pick up the key signatures. So it's almost like the key signature is assumed to reset itself at the beginning of every bar. Okay, so we'll see more of that a little later. But right now we've got this idea of vertical stack of notes. Now this stack, the only other thing that is important to point out is that this stack goes all the way. So this is where I was playing this piece at the beginning, right? Okay, so what we've got here is, notice, you got to stack both my left and my right hands, right? Both my left and right hands. Okay, I'm getting that wrong, but anyway, both the left and right hands are playing at the same time. That's because I've got a stack of notes that's going through. In the right hand, I've got this chord here, right? And then if the left hand, I've got these notes that are moving. But basically, when my right hand comes down on these notes up here in the bass clef, I have, right? I've got basically the lower basically the lower staff here that's telling me where my left hand plays is dictating some other notes. So basically, let's go back to our little melody here. So let's just say on this final thing, I wanted to introduce a note. Say I want to introduce this lower B flat. Okay, so remembering that home bass for the bass clef is D, so this line is B. Well, it's B flat because of the signature and this last note. So really, I'm just going to introduce a note here, and that would tell me that when it's sort of like you're moving this line over, right, as it's reading live time what to play, and when you hit this, so all these notes come down at once. So this is the idea of basically linear motion on your notes versus the vertical idea. And kind of where this comes from is back in the medieval times, or like it's sort of Renaissance, pre-Renaissance. A lot of music was sung in the churches and monasteries, cathedrals, all that, and it was voiced. So you had several voices coming together, making harmony. And as musicians started to develop music a little more formally in the 1500s, 1600s, and they now start playing with combinations of instruments, and you get the harpsichord, you get the piano, like all these things kind of come together. We get into basically harmony, where essentially what the voices used to do together now are being done at once. So it's sort of like, imagine each of these are voices. Now that's important because when we play music, you don't want to just start march along chord to chord. There's a linearity, so it's almost like you have multiple melodies being played with each of these, right? This could be one melody here, and then this thing down here could be its own maybe slower melody that's playing out underneath. And then this here could be, imagine like a cello or something, just plucking a B once in a while. Like maybe it starts, okay, maybe it starts here down on this F with the A, right? So you basically can imagine this cello going, and then that's all it does. But meanwhile, you've got this sort of alto voice, right? And then you maybe have a tenor underneath it that's doing these notes, going da, da. So basically they're mirroring the cello, except at a quicker pace. So, right? So what we have is, whoops. There we go. So, 3 voices coming together. That's an important concept, and when we get into nuances later and we talk about phrasing, that's where it's going to become important. You play Bach, any of that Baroque music, there's a lot of voicing, and that is huge to actually making it sound beautiful as opposed to just sound like a clump of chords and complex notes. Okay, so I think that's really, I think that's the end of musical notation. I mean, we're going to see more of it, but to learn more, we need to, at this point, just basically learn pieces and then basically like a case study. But everything that you're going to need to know will come up here. And there's always little extra things that will present themselves per the piece, but these will be the fundamentals. And I hope that you watch this series and the rest of it to come, it'll be helpful and get mileage out of it. Oh, you know, I'll probably at some point remake a lot of these videos as well. Just like be kind of fun to see with an improved process and what I learn over the next little while. Maybe come back and add to them or do a retake. But for now, these are there, and that's my intention. I want to have this available so as I forge ahead and start teaching pieces, you can go back to this and watch and have fun. So take this away. Maybe in the music that you like to play, take a look and see if you can find these vertical stacks of notes, and basically you can play chords or think of it as simultaneous melodies coming together. So each of them playing out on their own, but they come together at certain times when all the fingers come down at once. Okay, so the next time we are going to move on to rhythm. We're going to start talking about basically what does that look like, because that's another component that we've been leaving out, but it does get added in the board, like in any music you're going to start. So how does that look? What's this bar thing? How do you count out all these notes, and how long do you hold them down? That is rhythm, and that is the next series. So until next time, keep practicing. Put my magnets here.